Guys, how are we today? So if you remember from my videos from, a couple weeks or even a couple of months back, I talked about how near the end stages of every crypto cycle, exchange tokens are going to go parabolic. Now this cycle has been absolutely no different. You can see, first OKB printed that absolutely crazy move. Like on the 14th of August, when they announced they were burning tokens or something like that. Went from $46 to $142. That's over a 300% move. Then we saw this, that's nearly like a 40 something percent correction. And as Michael always says, abnormal moves can get even more abnormal. And that's exactly what we've seen. After that 40% sell off, we've then seen another 300% move. Now, obviously, we are correcting about 30 something percent since then, but this just goes to show that the analysis that I put up is pretty much aging perfectly. Now, obviously, I didn't get into OKB, and if you did, congratulations, whether you shorted the exact top and enjoyed, that incredibly positive funding rate whilst you were sitting in a short, or you got in right on the news announcement, maybe somewhere in this pump, held it through the correction and still walked away with 300%, or you have been a bag holder for a year or more and you're hundreds and hundreds of a percent in a profit. Congratulations to you. And obviously, after that crazy move on OKB, we then had the next week the CRO Treasury announcement from Trump. And you can see we've seen this insane 100 and something percent move. Now, obviously, CRO has a much larger market cap than OKB, so it's not going to pump as hard. But the trend line that I talked about, and I mentioned this in the TIA Premium Discord many times, that trend line has so far held up. We've wicked through it, but we've closed back under it. So if you took profits at 31 cent, you would be very, very happy. And one little thing to mention is you can just see the subtle higher lows on CRO. And right before the breakout, this was back in the 25th of August when, if I find something on a daily chart, like you can see when everything else was kind of selling off, making a rounding top, making lower lows and lower highs, like Rune, where it was the 25th of August, like here, we were actually big red bar. Bonk, same thing. Big red bar. Like even Bitcoin, where were we on the 25th of August? Like, red bar. Like everything else was making lower lows and lower highs, while CRO was going on this crazy rampage. Sorry, that was the 26th of August. Yeah, so everything was selling off. I remember that. CRO went on this huge pump and everything else pumped a little bit, and then just CRO just went crazy, and everything else, some of it pumped a tiny bit more, but mostly not really. So what do I think happens now? Well, if you watch my Bitcoin analysis from earlier today that I just posted, I think CRO is pretty much going to do the same thing. We might see a rally to retest this trend line, which could be, a 20 something percent move from here. I expect Bitcoin to move, 6-ish percent. So if CRO moves 10, 20%, and then potentially another sell-off to retest the breakout zone. So, something like 23 cent, the previous cycle high, which would only be another 10% down from here, or maybe even, some of these clusters of resistance here into like the 20 cent region. I would absolutely not want to see price action below 17 cents for CRO to maintain some strength, but I absolutely do think we are going to see another huge leg up. Now, if you have a look here, what we saw last cycle, we had 7 weeks up, we had a pullback, consolidation, then we saw an 8-week move into the top. Now, I was thinking that we were here, but based on Bitcoin making that 3 weeks, 3 red weeks signal, I might think we are actually somewhere here instead, where, you know, where, because we've seen, you know, a 200% move. So we could potentially sell off, you know, 2 or 3 weeks. And based on where we are in the cycle, we might not get this consolidation. Because as Michael says, history doesn't have to repeat, but it will rhyme. So, you know, this whole thing could take less time to play out. But the pattern where we see, you know, 25-ish% sell-off could still be valid. And obviously we've already seen that 25-ish% sell-off. So who knows, we could get, you know, a rally, then another sell-off, followed by the final rally, depending on what Bitcoin does. But yeah, like, I think from here, we will definitely not take out that weekly swing bottom. Or if we do, I think the cycle top for CRO will be in. Just like I think the cycle top for OKB is probably in, just based on how abnormal that move is. You know, like last cycle, CRO did, what, from here, like 7... The CRO did around 12-ish X, and OKB's done pretty much a 10X. Is that 10X? I can't maths. 8X. So, you know, maybe we have a little bit more of a squeeze left in it, but I'm rooting more for CRO than OKB right now. And even if we do get, you know, some consolidation in September where Bitcoin, you know, like some of your other coins start to take out weekly swing bottoms, putting in like a weekly swing, I don't think CRO is going to do that, because I think we could just see something like this, you know, where we get just a couple of days, you know, a wick up, close back, a wick down, then off to the races. Like, this is the part of the cycle where we get this final shakeout. So to try and shake out, you know, everyone that's been buying through here, sorry, I meant to use the Bitcoin chart, where we're going to try and shake out everyone that's been buying through here, shake them out, and then basically go parabolic and leave them in the dust. Which is, you know, like Bitcoin's done this many times before. Like you get, you know, this shakeout. So everyone who's bought the dip here goes, whoops, stop losses hit, panic sell, and then it's just, you know, big gotcha bar, as Michael likes to call it. Everyone starts to FOMO in at higher prices. Price goes vertical and then sells off because there's no one left to buy. So obviously, smaller market cap tokens like CRO are probably going to go a lot more vertical than Bitcoin is. So in my opinion, the cycle is numbered, and I think we could potentially only have a couple of weeks left. So if we are where I think we are, and, you know, we get a couple of weeks consolidation, like look at how short this move is. Once we start going, we get 1, 2, 3, fourth week, wicks higher, closes back down, and then it's a sell-off. So pretty much, like if we go from here, you know, it's the first week of September, if we get, as I was saying in my Bitcoin video, we get 1 or 2 weeks up, taking us to the middle of September, we get a sell-off, 1 week down, and then we close back up, you know, slightly up, because September is meant to be green. That would mean a top in late October or maybe the start of November, which would absolutely line up with time analysis. So if you are still in CRO, I hope you've taken some profits, because that's an over 300%. Almost, is that 400%? 300 and something, 400% move. So I hope you've, you know, taken some profits off the table. If you haven't, you know, then I truly do hope you're able to hold out through the correction and sell out through there. Anyways, enough talk about CRO. Quick look at BNB. Now, BNB obviously being a much, much bigger market cap than CRO, we haven't seen anything nearly as vertical. But when I first talked about BNB, you know, we were trading like, what, 500 and something, $600. We were probably in like these consolidations here. Obviously, BNB's gone higher. Not that much higher, but, you know, if you got the breakouts on some solid leverage or some big capital, then congratulations to you. But I do still stand by my BNB price targets, which I think I have talked about in the past. But if I haven't talked about it, let's just do a quick Fibonacci extension. we'll take we'll just use this cycle. So we'll take the bear market low, take it to the macro top at the first cycle top, should I say, like the 74K high, which was quite significant. We'll take it to this low here, which is really BNB bottomed in February. That's interesting. So yeah, you can just see the strength in BNB. Like, it bottoms earlier, makes a higher low whilst everything else is making a lower low, and then it's done a big move out of there. So, we've hit the 61.8% extension. We've struggled a bit with a 50% extension. So obviously this $1,000 psychological level, this institutional sell zone, and obviously the 100% extension. So from here, BNB could still run, but I just think where my money is going to be, it's going to be in CRO. Like, I am just rooting because crypto.com has so much better advertising, and as we know, all Trump has to do is say something and boom, we get retail FOMO. So I really, really want to get in on a move like this, get in on like a 5x leverage on the breakout and just ride it through. That's all I have for you today. Thank you all for watching, and make sure to keep an eye on those exchange tokens as the cycle comes to an end. Peace out.